All right, China. Scott Bessent went back on or did an event in Saudi, and Greer Jameson did a CNBC hit, both very bullish on the talks with China. And Bessent, now it's been reported, no surprise, he secretly met in the basement of some building at the IMF when they were in Washington a few weeks ago. So let's listen to a bit of Bessent and then roll right into Jameson, please.
The Vice Premier and I now call this the Geneva mechanism to prevent any misunderstandings, because President Trump and Party Chairman Xi have a very good relationship, but the relationship did not make its way down through other levels of government. So I think the important thing is that after this weekend, we have a mechanism to avoid escalation like we had before. We both agreed to bring the tariffs levels down 115%, which I think is very productive, because where we were with 145 and 125 was the equivalent of an unintended embargo that is not healthy for the two largest economies.
We're really involved in a two-step process here with China, and frankly with a lot of other countries as well. You'll recall when the president imposed his reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd, including on China, he very quickly moved to a pause on reciprocal tariffs with countries who were negotiating with us, and those countries were able to go to a 10% rate during that pause. China was the only one that retaliated, and then they escalated very quickly. We escalated to match it, and they decided that they actually did want to talk to us and come to the table, so we went down to a 10% and a pause of 90 days to talk to them. I mean, this is the plan, and it's working, and now China's part of that plan.
All right, there's some skepticism amongst some business leaders that, quote unquote, this was the plan. But here's someone speaking on behalf of what I call the few caucus, not FEW, but PHEW. Business leaders, politicians, including a lot of Republicans in Washington, who are saying few, thank God they took the off-ramp. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the spokesperson for the few caucus, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Ted Cruz.
I will say what Brad said a minute ago about the announcement, Secretary Bessent's announcement, I emphatically agree with. And in fact, the way he broke it down of two paths, one path using the leverage of tariffs to get lower tariffs, that's a fantastic path. That's, I think, what the president is doing, which is why the market is reacting positively. There is another camp within his administration that doesn't want lower tariffs, wants to see high tariffs in perpetuity. And I think right now the president has made the right decision to go down path number one. I think that's exactly the right path to go down.
Dan, if the president was seeking your advice on how to proceed next on tariffs, particularly as it relates to China and Europe, what would you tell him to do?
I mean, I think he made the right move. I think now the question is what comes of all of this. I mean, so far, China has agreed to nothing other than to lower its tariffs, just like we agreed to lower our tariffs. There's nothing else that there's not a single thing new that China has agreed to. We'll see what Europe does. I think it buys him time, and the markets are calmer. He'll never put these back in place. That's never going to happen. Just like he's never going to put the other ones back in place on July 4th. So we'll see. We'll see what he gets out of all of this.
Sean.
I think trying to get some early deliverables is critical. I mean, I think figuring out both, he brought up fentanyl, he talked about keeping that tariff on. So both dealing with that, and then obviously trying to figure out some bigger wins on market access and on trade. There's killer. It's not just the tariffs there, but obviously China's got the biggest issue of non-tariff barriers. It's right up there with India and Japan. And so I would figure out for him some ways to show additional market access for key industries.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, too, at the end of the day,
Chinese
want to keep the employment high. So, that means U.S. companies staying.
Yeah, I think they're not going to get massive onshoring, but I think they're going to get a lot of other stuff. And I continue to be told this play with China is about more than economics. It's also about security and about IP and about an AI and all the other big ticket items between the two countries.
That was a delicious video experience. I think you'll agree. Now, what you need to do in return for getting to enjoy that is hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community. never miss a thing.